2012 Ford Focus 2.0 liter, code P0131, O2 sensor, low voltage. Check it out. Code comes and goes, currently unactive when I scanned it, and everything looked fine on the live data. First thing I noticed when I come and look at the upstream sensor, that's sensor 1, bank 1, sensor 1, bank 1, sensor 2 will be further downstream. This is very taut. It's pulling the sensor wiring harness over, and this was after I took it out of a wire loom to give it slack here. So it's got a little slack now. It was pulled really tight. It's a code that comes and goes. I'm going to go ahead and replace this O2 sensor with one that is the proper length. We're simply going to unclip it from right here. Boom. We may need to use heat to get this O2 sensor out. I'm going to try it without heat to start. So you're going to want to grab an O2 sensor socket, or just cut this and put a socket right over it because we're replacing it anyways. Always recommend going with OE sensors, or not aftermarket. And this new sensor is about 1 inch longer. Make sure you got no corrosion in your wiring harness on the vehicle side of things. Got our O2 sensor out, and as you can see, we didn't tear up any threads. That's a good sign. I had to heat it up with my torch. It was not coming out. Also, I cut off the end of the O2 sensor with my Dremel tool so that I could fit a full-fledged socket over it because it was stuck in there real good. When you're using these O2 sensor sockets, they have a tendency, see how this is a 3/8 drive instead of 1/2 inch? That sucks, both of these are. But they have a tendency of the metal to open up a little bit, and then you can strip the hex on your O2 sensor, and then you're gonna be in a world of hurt. So I love to use a 6-point tight 7/8 socket on it instead of these open ones if I can for removal. For install, it's no problem. It's not all rusty and seized in there. I did bust out the torches, and I could see with my mirror, with my headlamp on, and with my phone camera where I was torching, because I didn't want to melt the heat shield and then have that in the way at all. So I wanted to be careful with my torching. You can use some MAP gas or propane. It just takes longer than oxyacetylene. Our sensor came pre-lubed. I usually use the copper anti-seize. You can find this stuff in my Amazon store, in my bio. I've got these Loctite sticks that I like. We got the copper stick here, which is usually what you put on your O2 sensor threads. So we are good to thread this in by hand, and then we'll tighten it up with the 3/8 drive. We just wanted that 1/2 inch for breakaway. You know, these get real rusty and seized in there. Then we'll route our harness through this little guy here and clip it in. I removed this harness just to make it easier to get to the other harness, which is now shoved back here. So just pop that top one out of the way to get to the bottom O2 sensor one. And that about covers everything. That's looking a lot better to me now. It's not being pulled over. It was bent straight over this ways. I don't know if somebody put the wrong O2 sensor on it or what. Motor mounts are getting loose and the motor's in a different spot. I don't know. But that harness was like 1 inch longer. And it works. Hope you enjoyed the vid on a Ford Focus P0131. And catch you in the next episode.